I hope y'all are doing well. I'm a little sleepy-eyed, and the hair that I have, you probably can't even tell, but it's slightly turned up on its side, indicating I've been lying down. Yeah, so I finished my meditation last night, and which I'll talk about here in just a moment, and decided to rest just a little bit, and so lie down here on the floor and fell asleep. And now it's like 4.5 hours later, so it is very much the wee hours of whatever day it is. It's not worth thinking about right this minute in the morning, but I'm going to do this and go to sleep for a little bit longer and get up and do tomorrow's video at some point. So anyway, day 12, and yesterday, or we'll call it today just for the sake of completeness, but technically I guess yesterday, I most of the day itself, actually I didn't meditate in the morning at all. Normally I found that doing some sort of like a half an hour meditation when I rise, or Milboth, welcome, good to see you. So a half an hour meditation when I rise, or some sort of after I exercise, maybe a 30-minute, 45-minute meditation really helps to bring me grounded for the day. And I didn't do any of that earlier in the day yesterday, and could really tell as I went throughout my day, just my mind being, off in my thoughts, my lack of groundedness, things causing more anxiety or more, what if, oh, this, that, kind of traveling around more than normal. And then, welcome. I So after meditating as I did my entire 2 hour block in one shot yesterday evening, which was a really interesting experience. One, just to note that as I started, I decided just to kind of sit there. A lot of times what I've been doing recently is this idea of playing with this viewfinder window, and having, this piece of me I've kind of talked about out here, and this viewfinder window that I can then direct. I want to pay attention to thoughts, or paying attention to physical body, to emotions, whatever. And in that, I can kind of adjust and play with my own healing by focusing on different areas for release. And I decided to just let all of that go and just sit here and see what happens. And I noticed that, it tended to be more in the thought area, but a lot of it just happened on its own, and the mind kind of knew where to go as different stimulations came up, as well as the release was a lot easier because, like I said, there was no resistance on my part. There was no trying to guide and direct it, and so things that would come up would just kind of come up. I would notice, and they would leave. It was a much more peaceful process, I guess you could say, a much more effortless process. That being said, I do feel like that there is some balance where we can have that viewfinder window and we can begin to direct it where we need it to, and allow the release where we're trying to get it, and still be in that nice, peaceful, allowing place, and have the release be effortless. So that's something that I'm open to playing with and letting it unfold for me as I go. Specifically, yesterday's meditation, the biggest thing, I guess, that came out of it was in doing that 2 hour block. And I tend to sit in half lotus position, which, if y'all are not familiar with that, it's kind of like Indian style, but one leg is up on top. I guess I could show you. So, just like this. So instead of Indian style being both legs down, half lotus, you have one leg up like this. And you can pick either leg. I typically have my right leg on top. I have scoliosis in my spine, and it's curved a particular direction. It's a decently severe curve. And so it's more comfortable for me to sit on with my right leg on top. But I've noticed through some of the hour meditations that as I sit with my left leg on top and just kind of sit there, then near the end of it, it really starts to get this this nerve pain, this we'll just say I'm very aware of my left leg after a certain amount of time. And in doing so, it's brought, as I just accept the pain that I feel, it's brought a very deep level of groundedness and a very deep level of release as it begins. As I feel that more and more, and I just surrender and accept, then it begins to release and release. So I thought, what the hell? Let's do the 2 hour meditation with the left leg up the entire time and see what happens. In one sense, amazing decision. In another sense, that was hell. But I sat there. I mean, and I didn't watch the time exactly, but I would assume approximately an hour through the meditation. Just like most of the times, that left leg began talking to me, and that nerve pain began to come up. Now, I've noticed on my right leg, by the way, just a little backstory. I've noticed on my right leg, I sit typically with that one, and there was a time too at the beginning when I started seating meditation, or excuse me, at the beginning when I started seated meditation, that leg would also begin to go numb. In fact, that's a common thing with most people is they sit in meditation and their leg starts to go numb, and then they have to shift, move, whatever to get to release the pressure. And a master at the yoga studio that I go to was like, just stay, just sit with it. It will eventually leave. She's like, you're not doing anything that's going to cause your leg to fall off. Yes, it's got pain. Yes, it's got numbness. You're not going to die. Just sit there. Paraphrasing, of course. And so I did, and I just sat there. And after an extended period of meditation one day, just sitting and all this pain coming up and numbness and whatnot, something just snapped, and it was not physically snapped, but I mean something energetically just whoom, and it flushed out my leg, the pain, the numbness just in one fell like left, and then that tingly sense when you, like, if you have numbness because you've been sitting for too long and you start to get up and then your leg starts to wake back up again and the tinglies start coming in, it came in as I was sitting there. I hadn't really moved at all, and it started waking back up, and I had that experience that day, and I had the experience the next day as well, a very similar experience, or 2 days later, and I think it was the next day, and had a similar experience of the leg waking up. And from there, my leg doesn't get numb anymore. I can sit in meditation for quite a while with my right leg, and it just doesn't get numb. It doesn't, block up like that in any way. So it fully released, I feel, which was an amazing experience, and something that I can, share now with other people, and also just a natural healing experience of the body that I have to fall back on at this point. So my thinking was maybe the same thing would happen with the left leg. So as I kept the left leg there, like I said, I did an entire 2 hour block. I kept the left leg on, and after about the first hour or so, hello, how are you? I'm just talking about my meditation experience. I did it last night and then rolled over and hello, glad to see you on. It's if you guys have any questions about meditation or anything, feel free. Right on. Good day to you as well. Good day to you as well. No problem. So yesterday's meditation experience, I did the entire 2 hour block. I don't speak Russian. I'm sorry. Well, I guess I'm not sorry. I'm English and I don't speak English. Yeah. But yeah, I can't read what the Russian said. But I love you anyway. No. English and a little bit of Spanish, and then a few basic words of other languages. I mean, like in French, bonjour, merci, de rien, je m'appelle Alan, is about the extent of my French. Cool, Marina. It's nice to meet you. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, so yeah, just looking or talking about my meditation experience and documenting my 100-day journey. So if you guys have any questions about spirituality, meditation, um, chakras, or life in general, anything that you've got issues that you're going with. Hey, Julie, it's nice to meet you. My name's Alan. It's a pleasure. And so, any questions at all you guys have, please feel free to jump in and ask. And in the meantime, I will just kind of continue the description that I was going on. So, like I said, yesterday was the entire 2 hour block, and I had my left leg on top, sitting in half lotus. And about an hour through, I just started, this pain in my left leg started to wake up. This whole nerve pain, it kind of connected to my lower spine where I was sitting, and it just started like, just intense nerve pain is the best word that I have for it. And there's a piece of me that was like, okay, it's been about an hour. I can stop and move my legs and just continue with my 2 hour meditation. And this other piece of me was like, no, let's just see what happens. I know that with the right leg, like I said, when it was on top, there was this place where the natural healing of the body occurred. The senses just flushed out and it began to wake up. And now it doesn't have any pain or anything anymore when I sit. So I thought maybe the only thing will happen to the left leg. So I just sat there and I sat there, and the pain grew worse and it grew worse and it grew worse. And pretty much the entire last half of the meditation was me sitting there just in excruciating pain, essentially. I just chose to stay with it no matter what. And it just, it went from the focus on my thoughts and the internal stuff and emotions and releasing and all the other bits of meditation to just this like and I'm sure that other people have experienced worse pain in their lives than what I was experiencing. Yeah, I do actually like tortillas. I generally eat raw vegan with a little bit of bison, but I'm a huge fan of a nice warm flour tortilla and some good queso as like a comfort food. Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Um, so my leg just absolute excruciating. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate that. Excruciating pain that I was just sitting there, and I just kept telling myself, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And more tension began to raise in my body. Like I said, I have scoliosis, so the nerves in the bottom lower part of my back were also talking to me. Let's say, and just I kept, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, it's okay. I noticed the tendency in my mind to really want to run away from the pain. I noticed the tendency as I was doing it to want to look at the clock and say, okay, well, shit, how much longer do I have while I'm sitting here? If it's a couple minutes, I think I can do it. And I just allowed myself to not look. Near the very, very end, I did one of those, like, I didn't actually look technically, but I did one of those like you hold the watch and the timer and you kind of like reveal your thumb step by step. Okay, well the hour marker is not there, so I know I have less than an hour. And oh, the tens minute marker is not there. That means I know I have less than 10 minutes. I was like, all right, I'm going to stop there. So I knew I had a little bit less. I had very little time to go, but I technically didn't look, so it's okay. But no, so I allowed that to surface. And the more I did, the more I just would stay with the pain, the more I noticed that my body began to relax and release. Now, there seemed to be deeper and deeper levels of this pain. And on the whole, from the entire, time through the end, it just got increasingly worse. But the more I stayed with it, I do not, actually. But do you happen to know the actor's name? So anyway, by the way, I've also heard that I look like Kevin Spacey and somebody else that somebody said once, but I forgot. But anyway, so the excruciating pain kept building and building, but the more that I would stay with it, the more a very deep sense of groundedness came into my body, a very deep sense of like lower chakra awareness and just a inner strength and authenticity began to surface. I noticed that I kept wanting to watch the time, but as I looked more and more deeply at that in myself, I could see that it was really just this fear of the unknown. It's like if I could just look and I could just know how long it was going to be, I would be okay. And so in my meditation experience, I realized that that's just some sort of blockage or something. So I was like, all right, what is this that's causing that? It's this fear of the unknown. Because I don't know how much is time left, then there's a problem. And so I said, okay, I accept the unknown, and just I have no idea. So I just kind of kept staying with it, and that began to release as well. With the pain, I started with the I have, I can do this. To I have I have pain, and that's okay. I accept the pain. I accept the pain. I accept the pain. That really began to help. Um, well, marginally began to help, I guess, but it did help. I do know, yeah. So I began to accept the pain, and that really began to help. And then I transitioned to, um, like, I guess I have pain. I can do this. I have pain. I can just whatever positive affirmation. And eventually got to the point where just I was like, please, hey, what's up? Welcome. I'm Alan. I'm just kind of describing my meditation experience. Yesterday was very interesting. I sat for 2 hours in a half lotus position with my left leg on top, and noticed an intense pain coming up in my left leg, especially during the second half of it. And just to the point where it blocked everything else out. So for one thing, it was very clearing for the mind, because when you experience that much pain, there's nothing else that matters or is going on. Um, I don't speak Russian, but hello, and I'm glad that you're here. Do you speak English? And I'm assuming that's Russian, by the way, or some sort of language from that part of the world, Slovakian or something, based on the writing. Maybe Greek. I don't know. Um, but so anyway, all that being said, massive thank you. I appreciate the hearts very much. Um, Massive pain uh, that I stuck with, and so that's in itself a sense of accomplishment for me. But through all of that, the body began to release and release more and more, and I felt at the end this very strong sense of like physical groundedness and connectedness that I have not experienced in a while. I have a feeling that I know, like I said, my right leg, if I've done that, it just completely released, and then the whole numbness, everything just left. My left leg, I would assume, will do the same thing. It seems like it's tied more to the rest of the tension in my body. Yeah, exactly. A strong sense of presence. Thank you. Um, it feels like it's tied to scoliosis and some of the other tension in my body. I also felt a lot of tension up here. In fact, I know from different readings that I've done that, lack of hair growth, which I seem to be experiencing a little bit, is due to blockages in the brain and in the skull. That in having those blockages, it basically prevents the hair from growing. And that's, can sometimes come from stress, overthinking, whatever, just a lot of energetic wonkiness going on up here. That I felt physical tension in my brain the longer that my leg held. And I feel like all of this whole system is tied together somehow. That there's a piece of me that has no desire to repeat that experience whatsoever ever again. I'm glad that I did it. I did the whole thing. Although, like I said, the second hour, I was ready to stop, to where the last little bit of time, whatever it was, I just would sit here and I was just absolutely in like tense pain and just saying, I can do this now. I can do this now. I can do this now, to get me through each moment. Hello. Welcome back. You doing okay? Um, and also, I find that breathing, when I focused on the tension and stopped breathing so much, it got worse and worse and worse. As I would remind myself to come back and breathe, and just remind myself to breathe, the pain seemed to be much more bearable. Again, for whatever that's worth for whoever's watching. But I do feel that this whole thing is tied together, and there's another piece of me that would like to have that experience again. Maybe, as I've had more sleep and different food balance so that it's easier, you can adjust the balance of your food or the types of food you eat to balance yourself out better to have higher pain tolerance. That's, you know, not a discussion for this time. But anyway, there's a part of me that would like to repeat that experience in slightly different conditions and see if I could get some of that to really release and even possibly heal my spine. We'll see. But yeah, that was the main part of my meditation yesterday, or earlier today, I guess we'll call it. Another thing that really has come up for me is this idea of unconditional love. I read an article a couple days ago talking about, yes, that is true. That tends to happen, is I have people that will jump on for a few minutes and either they're not into meditation, so they just jump off. Lately I've been doing videos at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and most people are not. Thank you. I appreciate the hearts. Most people are not into the whole meditation, Zen, spirituality idea at that point. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you can recognize that. Thank you. That means you must have a wonderful soul as well. I mean, we all have wonderful souls, but you're more awake to it if you can recognize that in others. So yeah, they tend to just kind of drop off after they look and they say, see that it doesn't seem to vibe with them, or they hear me talk for a few minutes and then get, I guess, whatever enlightenment or experience that they need and be on their merry way. Which originally brought up a lot. It's also this scoping idea has been really therapeutic for me. I grew up, kind of made fun of and stepped on a little bit, like all of us did, and also developed a shyness. And so this idea of putting myself out there to be, potentially rejected by other people was scary for me. And definitely the first few scopes, I've noticed that, and even still, it's hanging around a little bit. This like fear before hitting the button of start broadcast. Thank you for the hearts. And this like, okay, I've got to make sure I have the right thing to say so that I can win their approval and that they'll love me and that they'll keep viewers and all of the above. And so there's definitely been an aspect of that. And as people will pop on and then leave, there was this sense of loss and this sense of, oh, but why did I not say the right thing to get them to stay or what? And as I've done this more and more, because this is day 12 right now, I've gotten more and more comfortable with just having people come in and drop off. And I still feel some of those same feelings, but the coming and going is not as big a deal anymore. And I feel like a deeper sense of me being comfortable with myself and with my message is surfacing regardless of who chooses to listen and how long they choose to listen. And I feel like that is very worthwhile, I guess, or we'll say worthwhile for my ultimate growth. There's a better word in here somewhere, but that's okay. I'm going to let it go. But will very much serve me in my path in the long run. And a lot of the nervousness, a lot of the fear in front of starting and of doing the scopes and what other people may think of me or may not think of me. I still have my moments, but it's gotten much, much easier to just accept what is. So I'm very grateful to the creators of Scope and to all you guys out there for just kind of playing a role in all of this. So the next thing that I'm seeing is, like I said, unconditional love. I read an article the other day that talked about most of the quote love that we have is a very conditional love, is very much a I love you, but subconsciously or consciously we're trying to get something in return for that. And so when that doesn't necessarily happen, we tend to, get in our egoic, pissy, defensive. I do not. I don't know who DJ Screw is. I'm guessing either somebody that does like spinning or techno, or possibly a rapper, just based on the name. But no, I do not. Is he a quality artist? Um, so like I said, unconditional love. That there is this deeper sense of love that can come from within that needs nothing in return. It simply gives to give. And in doing so, that actually wakes up a real, true joy and true happiness inside of us beyond external circumstances. And so I've kind of been noticing throughout my days, or the past, time since I've read this article even more clearly, how when I do things, sometimes it is eliciting that love. Like, even something simple like as I'm jogging, I will, just kind of wave to the people in the cars. And I realized in doing that yesterday that there's a piece that's like, I want them to wave back. I'm waving so that then they will see me and say hi and wave back. And that when they don't, there's a little piece of me that's like, oh, come on, Paige, just at least give me a little wave or something, or, lost in your world, or that has a little bit of that anger or resentment or whatever you want to say come up. Uh, and it hit me because I'm giving with a conditional love. I'm giving my love, I'm giving my hello, I'm giving my whatever on the expectation and desire that they give it back to me. And once I recognized that and remembered this article and switched and just let it be a true unconditional giving, just send my love and say hello. And if anything happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. My inside shifted. And then it really, sometimes I got waves, sometimes it didn't, but it didn't matter anymore. I felt joy just in the giving. And it's a small thing, but we do that all the time with everybody. Even, in our romantic relationships. Things start off where you first meet each other and there's this high and I'm in love and you mean the world to me and there's nothing you can do that's wrong. And, I want to do everything for you. And so we start off and we do that. We begin to lose ourselves. And then over time, now it's like, well, you used to do all these things to, make me happy, and you don't do those anymore. Well, yeah, you used to do all these things to make me happy, and you don't do them anymore either. And this back and forth arguing crap because the other person's not giving me what I need for my happiness anymore. And then a breakup results. And the whole issue was this conditional love. Well, one is we lost ourselves in the relationship. We started putting our happiness in another person. And the only place we can generate real happiness is within. Other people can be a reflection of that happiness for us. They can share that happiness with us. But nobody can give us anything. If anything, we have happiness that we create due to some sort of action that they perform. We allow that to generate happiness with inside of ourselves, but it's at such a deep subconscious level we don't realize that we have control over it. But it's really us. Hello. It's really us that is creating the happiness. Anyway, that being said, when you're in this relationship state, a lot of the breakup and a lot of the issues start to come when they forget that and start depending on somebody else for their happiness. You do this for me, and so that makes me happy. And then I do this for you, and that makes me happy. And then after a while, because we're human, that starts to fall away. We also recognize that we've kind of lost ourself in the mix. And so we start to come back a little bit and take care of our deep inner being. And sometimes that requires a lessening of external activities. And so in doing so, then this person doesn't feel what they used to feel from this person, and that person doesn't feel, yada, yada. You guys get the picture, which creates a breakup. The other thing is that when we do give, and this is the main point, is that when we do give that love, it tends to be a conditional love. It tends to be a not self-serving, that's not right. There's a generosity, there's a desire for the well-being of the other person to make them happy with it. But sometimes, and this is not all the time that it's conditional, I'm just saying there are times when that love is conditional and we give something with the expectation of a return. And when we get that, it's happy and it builds and builds and builds. When we don't get that, we get pissed off. And because we're all human, we don't always return. And at least because we're at a certain level of development as humans, we don't always return, and so then that's what creates anger and all the above. Instead, if we can completely let go of all expectations, completely let go of any desire for return or anything, and just give because it feels good, not needing anything back, that's this true unconditional love. If we can do that, then the joys in the giving, we need nothing else. It comes from a more pure form. And then it doesn't seem to burden the other person with this need to give back. And then they're more free to then do the same thing. As they begin waking up consciously, they can give unconditionally. And then everybody's just unconditionally giving. So our joy is from the giving. And if we get something back, great. If we don't, great. So we're creating our own happiness. We're creating our own love inside, which raises all of our energy vibrational frequencies up. And then actually what will end up happening is, because nobody's tired anymore from this having to do or having to give or, whatever, or they're allowed the space, if they have a day where they just don't friggin' feel like doing anything loving or giving, that they're free to just be that way and it's okay and nobody gets mad at them, then we will all begin to raise up, and I feel like get to this place where everybody is just from an unconditionally loving space, giving of themselves, and raising everybody up. So that's what I see. But like I said, I noticed in myself the different conditional givings. In fact, even with the scopes, I can kind of tell when people when they come in, there's an extra something in me that kind of sparks up, and oh hey, how you doing? Kind of thought, and a desire to give even more. And then if people drop off, there's a little sense of, okay, well, I'm just talking to myself right now, and there's a slightly lower energy. And even that, I feel I can see as some sort of a conditional love, a conditional giving. So I'm grateful for that awareness, and may my giving and my interactions with the world be from an unconditionally loving space at all times. I wish that for myself, and I wish that for y'all. And if anybody on has any questions right now, ideas, thoughts, comments, please feel free to chime them in. Anybody that's been watching, please, feel free to follow. It would be great to gain extra followers and take some of this message out to other people as they see, hey, some other people listen to this guy as well, and that might move me up in the ranks and bring awareness to others. Hearts are always appreciated for the same reason. Just tap on the screen if you're not familiar with that. And this, as you guys, again, if you have questions, please feel free to type them in. I'm just kind of wrapping up some thoughts, and then I'm going to stop here in a moment if nobody has anything. Right on. Welcome. I don't speak that language, whatever that is, but hello, and I'm glad that you're here. So also a shout out to Tao Semko. I talked a couple times about this idea of pelvic floor breathing, and there's a lot of traditions that have that. He's not unique by any means, but he's a guy that has taken his own time to study with some other people that are friends of his. I just don't remember the name of right now. To study a ton of different traditions and different methodologies of healing and of meditation and awareness and energy work and energy flow and all the above, and in studying all of the different ones of all the different traditions, kind of seeing the commonalities underneath all, and piecing together a process of awakening that is kind of proprietary, as well as just very, very efficient, and takes in the best of all the different worlds. And one of the base level things he talks about, yes, actually, it works quite well. So one of the base things he talks about, and I'll give you his websites here in just a moment. And actually, my phone's about to die as well, so very soon I'm going to wrap up. But anyway, this idea of pelvic floor breathing, you breathe in and your entire pelvic floor expands, and then that goes into opening your body and opening up your chest. In doing all of this, keeping your tongue lightly on the tip of the roof of your mouth, it helps. There's certain set of energy flows, a governing vessel, and I forgot the other name, that runs through and runs an energy cycle in your body that keeps that circuit connected. but breathing in, starting with the pelvic floor, actually feeling the pelvic floor like push against your pants, and open up. And then as you exhale, from the top down, just kind of letting the breath leave. And that's a base, and exhaling about twice as long as you inhale. And that's a very base level of breath on which he builds all kinds of other energetic work and other things. That's an amazing process. And so I wanted to shout out to him that that's where I got that from. Tao Semko, TaoSemko.com. Also, the two main sites are Kundalini Awakening Process. So look up Kundalini Energy. Just KundaliniAwakeningProcess.com. You can Google that, or I'll put it at the comments in my YouTube channel. Or Uma Tantra University. UMAATANTRA.com. UmaTantra.com. Yeah, are all great sites. And Uma Tantra, in fact, actually has in addition to just free stuff for people who want it, there's an entire 6-year awakening program with Kundalini energy, tantric yoga, hatha yoga, awareness practices, etc. that is phenomenal. So I highly recommend that for anybody else who is watching and feels led. So thanks again for taking your time and your awareness to watch. And I'm going to head off now. Have a beautiful day. I'm going to catch some sleep and see y'all technically later today, but we'll just call it tomorrow. So until then, be blessed. Much love. Take care.